Oh, good. I just wanted to make sure that it is being broadcast. We had that problem last week. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Bhadram Karnebhihi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistushtubhagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitanyadayuh Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryankarabhavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Nantaf Pragyam Na Bahish Pragyam Na Ubhayataf Pragyam Na Pragyanaghanam Na Pragyam Adrishtam Avyavaharyam Agrahyam Alakshanam Achintyam Avyapadeshyam Ekatma Pratyayasaram Prapancha Upashamam Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Savigyeyaha. So in the beginning of each class, I try to point out that as experienced students of Vedanta, we should remind ourselves as often as possible, certainly at the beginning of each class, and from time to time during the day, we should remind ourselves about the big picture that Vedanta tries to show. The big picture. So this is what is called, what is it that I need to really aspire to understand? And the big picture has to be, and I've tried to present that in various classes, in words like you're already complete, you just don't know it, etc., etc. Here today, another reminder along the same lines. What is the extraordinary nature of Vedanta? What is the unique contribution? And that is that not only are you the Sakshi, which is pretty much known to us, even to a child, that I am the seer of this world, my experience. Child may not understand the whole world, but just the things in front of you. Even the child is aware of that. And certainly as students of Vedanta, we are made to remind ourselves that that is the situation. And in fact, many of the very sophisticated, erudite schools of thought also reiterate that. But Vedanta is not just that. So then what is it? Vedanta says there is something very important, something very unique about you. You are not just the Sakshi, you are the whole thing. Whole thing meaning you should see that everything that you experience, whether it looks outside of you or inside of you, past, future, etc., everything, the whole cosmos is nothing but you. And if you have trouble even accepting it, let alone understand it, understanding is a different thing. But accepting is even accepting if you don't do, then a possible way for you to at least accept it, Vedanta says this, is that you should see that your definition of God, of Ishvara, of Paramatma, Ishvara, is that it is the whole thing. That much we can grasp. We may not grasp it, but we accept it readily. Yes, I can see. I may not be the whole thing, but there is some entity called God who is, in the words of Vedanta, the abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Meaning, Ishvara is that definition. We are only talking about definition at this point. Understanding is later. But even the acceptance, the definition should be that Ishvara is the intelligence as well as the material of the whole creation. Because something which is so sophisticated, so vast, so purposeful, cannot be without somebody who is extremely intelligent, who has all of the answers. And you cannot have an Ishvara that has to import the material from someplace else, like a person who's a goldsmith. Can't do that. So we can accept Parameshwara as the one who is the whole thing. This much we can do. The contribution of Vedanta is, the uniqueness of Vedanta is that Parameshwara that you are accepting in order to understand the reality of that Parameshwara. You have to see that Parameshwara must be you. You cannot be, this is the aikyam, this is the identity. You know, this is the thing. Sometimes we feel that these are words. You know, they say that the uniqueness of Vedanta is the establishment of identity between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So these look like they're words, but you need to understand this is me. This is the uniqueness of Vedanta. That you are not just the Sakshi, you are the whole thing. So from time to time, I think we should, in some ways, we need to keep this in mind as we live our life. In a way, it's kind of like supposing you have to go somewhere which is far away and hardly visible to you, but you have to go there. Then as you travel, you must keep in mind, am I coming nearer to that place or not? This is the thing. Am I going in the opposite direction? And so for you to observe your life and your experiences, your attitudes, this big picture must be kept in mind. This is a very beautiful explanation of, that was not my main topic, I just sort of talked about it, so let me spend a little bit more on sketching it out, this point about the fact that where you are going and how you are going must be consistent. So this is what is called sadhya sadhana, identity between sadhya and sadhana. The sadhana must also be in the direction of sadhya, right? Sadhana must also be, your direction should also be in the direction of where you want to go. And you want to go to a complete freedom, where there is nothing which is other than you. Because the very experience of something other than you is a cause of fear, of competition and uncertainty and so on. And so that needs to be done. So just a few things. So here, for example, what it says is the nature of Paramatma is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Sat Chit Ananda. So therefore, that is where we need to go. And that is where we need to understand that that is none other than me. If that is the case, then should it not be acceptable to you and I that my conduct in life is also Satyam? I cannot have an attitude of this is okay too, even whether this is true or not, it's okay. No. So this is why they say that the sadhana must be consistent with what the sadhya is. We talk, these are all words, antakarana shuddhi. That your mind has to be pure. What does it mean? So in terms of this concept, what it means is that in your mind, you need to be a truthful, simple person. So observe that. So that means that if you determine that there is some obstruction to my being a truthful, simple person, that is what is obstructing me from understanding that I am Satchitananda. So to be aware of that. And so the Antakarna Shuddhi means that all three things. So Sat must be also, you must be relatively truthful in order to be absolutely truthful. And then comes your attitude towards knowledge. That there should be no doubts left. Your study, your teaching, your behavior should be in such a way that it is consistent with the truth, that it is in fact knowledge. There should be nothing, there's no doubts about it. And so that is the evolution of the Chit. So that means that it must be consistent with the absolute light, which is Chit. Then comes the last one, which is, and this is equally important, Swami Akhandananda spends a lot of time discussing that you should make sure that you are as happy as you can be under a given circumstance. And you should also make sure that you do not create unhappiness for anyone else as much as possible. Strive to it. So this is the sadhana for Ananda. That do not be upset at things as much as possible. Just be forgiving to yourself and be forgiving to others. Bring happiness to yourself as well as to others. Relatively speaking, we know that it's not always possible. But we are talking about sadhana at this point. But in all three cases, we must strive to make sure that my life matches where I'm going to go. This is what is talked about. And so to close that off, you see, this is the thing, I would restate it, that we must, as far as possible, keep in mind the big picture. And the big picture is, I am Sat Chit Ananda. And keeping that big picture in my life, is my conduct consistent with that or not? If it is not, which it may not be, correct. So it's like, trying to go somewhere and you're sometimes not sure whether you should go in this direction or not. Keep that compass in mind, that this is where I want to go. And this is an easy thing to do. This is why they say that, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi means that my understanding of where I'm going must be consistent with what is pointed out in our Shastra. That really the nature of Parameshwara, it's Satchidananda, which is none other than yourself. And if you need to really understand that, then you must have the preparations necessary to go in that direction. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, now we go back to the analysis and the very the viveka of back again to the two parts of the seventh mantra. That is what we are committed to analyze, and we are in the process of doing that. We have been doing it, but it's not complete. So let's resume that. So the seventh mantra, as you know, has two parts. The first part is na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, etc. Then the second part is adrishtam avyavaharyam. Right? What is the nature of this distinction? So this is all consistent with understanding that I am the whole thing. It's all part of that. And I think this is very explicitly and very clearly pointed out in various texts. And one of the texts where this does such a good job of dissecting these two parts to it, the first part being the adrishtam avyavaharyam, is antah pragyam, bahish pragyam, and the second one is adrishtam. So this seeming dichotomy is presented extremely clearly in Drigdrishya Viveka, which is a very basic text, but in some ways going back to the basics is very helpful, because the others are a bit too obscure and sophisticated. It may not be easily accepted. So let's go back to the basics. And the basics, as I've explained, is that this is in a group of verses which starts with verse number 20 and goes on. You can, and I'll highlight a few of them. The complete one we will see later. I'm thinking of all of the podcasts be based on that. But let's take a sampling of that and just go over that to explicitly see the difference between antah pragyam, bahish pragyam, the first part, and adrishtam avyavaharyam, the second part. Here's what it is. It says, it starts with, of course, the fact that number 20, asti bhati priyam, which corresponds to Satchidananda. It's the same thing. Asti bhati priyam, satyam jnanam anantam, advaitam shivam sundaram. Same thing. Three parts to it. Asti bhati priyam. And this is the Brahma Rupam. This is the reality. And then Rupam and Nama is the Jagat Rupam. Nama Rupa, names and forms, are a form based on Asti Bhati Priyam. I will just digress for a second. It is very interesting. In fact, let me just bring that point up. In an earlier part of in verse number 8 of the Drigdrishya Viveka, he says, ahankarasya tadatmyam chit chaya deha sakshibhi sahajam karmajam bhranti janyam cha trividam kramat. So what it says is that you have an apparent connection with various things. One of them is your deha. Deha means your body, body-mind complex. This is one of the apparent connections that you have. This is what we feel. You'll say, who are you? Then you can say, this is me. So this is what is called karmajanyam. Karmajanyam. So here in one of the explanations, a very long explanation by the way, by Swami Akhandananda, he does such a good job of pointing out how is the body based on karma. Let's think about that. So he says, if you look at the shape of something, like for example the Dakshinamurti, which is a formful version of Shiva. That's what Dakshinamurti is, with four hands and all these things on him and so on, the very form. How that was done? So it is done by a very deliberate making by an artist that knows exactly how to create a form which is very intricate form. How the various hands and the body and the face, all of that is done, very intricate. It cannot happen by itself. It cannot happen by itself. It has to be chipped and polished and changed. This is a big art. I still remember when Swami Dayanandji had commissioned the work of the Dakshinamurti. I still remember that so well, how we were awaiting to see what it would look like. And you have to really understand who are the best artists available for those kinds of vigrahas, murtis, and trust them. And the most important one really out of the whole thing was the face of Dakshinamurti. And not only the face, but the smile of the Dakshinamurti. I recall satsangs with Swami Dayanandji, where he was somewhat worried, I think is the right word, that, once you tell someone, okay, here's what you need to do, you cannot keep criticizing him and saying, no, this is not right, do it again. There's no do it again. Once you entrust you trust somebody, you just have to accept what that artist comes with. And Swamiji, I remember, was so happy at the very smile of Dakshinamurti. You cannot be laughing. You cannot be serious. It has to be a gentle smile. Anyway, so what happens is, all they're saying is that any kind of an intricate form requires a lot of work. The body is a very sophisticated, intricate form. A lot of work has gone into it. So you have to do anumana. You have to understand from the karya, from the effect, what kind of a cause it must have been. From the effect of a very intricate vigraha, you can say a lot of thought, a lot of practice must have gone into it. Similarly is the deha. So in the deha, a lot of work has gone in. Who has done the work? You and I have done the work. You have done for your body, I have done it for my body. Many, many lives, slowly polishing it, changing it to a point where it is now. So now this body has a form. I'm going back to it. And not only has this form, but it also has some software. So the form is both the sthula sharira, but also the sukshma sharira. Sukshma sharira means my thoughts, my ability to understand, my ability to love, to accept, to become angry, to be forgiving. This amazing amount of software, which is also part of how I look at the world. Do I appreciate it? Do I have an antagonistic view of it? All of those kinds of variations are all part of what is visible to me. And these are my experiences. And I can undergo a lot through that. Some of them are outside. Some of them are very clearly somebody threatens me. Somebody gives me some adulation outside. Or my own mind inside. Antahpragyam, bahishpragyam. So these are things that I can visualize, I can see outside of me, and including my internal thoughts also. Okay? So this is the first part. This is not the only part. There's also the sakshi, the awareness. So this is pointed out in Drikdrishya Viveka very beautifully. And so it says you need to think about, contemplate about both parts, the one which is visible to you and one where you are the sakshi. So this is what is pointed out in verse number 22, because in verse number 22, up to 20, 1 to 20, it has given you facts. Here's what the truth is. Then from number 22 onwards, it talks about how do you understand these facts. Because right now it's kind of all mixed up. You are not doing the proper viveka between Atma and Anatma and so on. So if the facts about Atma and Anatma are now clearly stated, what is the process that you have to go through to see that very clearly for yourself? Not just something which is written on a book. That process is now talked about. And this is what relates to the verse number 7, which I'll come to that. But let's just go through it. So it's number 22 starts with the following. These are advice for doing contemplation. You can call it meditation, but let's look at contemplation. So it says, Upeksha nama rupe dve Satchidananda tatparaha samadhim sarvada kuryat hridaye va athava bahi. Upeksha nama rupe dve. He says the way to do contemplation, there are two ways to do contemplation. Two ways to do contemplation. Upeksha nama rupe dve Satchidananda tatparaha samadhim sarvada kuryat. May you always contemplate. So this is the way to understand the reality about yourself, that you look at it in two different ways. What are the two different ways? He says, number 23, Drishya Shabda Anuvidhena Savikalpa Punavdvidha. These are the two ways. Drishya Anuvidha and Shabda Anuvidha. And Drishya Anuvidha means connected with, pertaining to. Connected with means with respect to. With respect to two things, you should do your samadhi. That is how we should really contemplate our life. Once we have understood all the basics. What are the basics? Asti bhati priyam rupam nama ichi ansa panchakam amsha panchakam adyatrayam brahma rupam jagat rupam tatodvayam. The fact that the whole thing that you are consists of the reality that you are and the superimpositions of nama rupa that you are on your reality. This is the fact. Now, how do you contemplate on it? This is we pointed out. It says there are two ways of doing it. One is Drishya Anuvidha Savikalpa Samadhi, and the other one is Shabda Anuvidha Savikalpa Samadhi. Okay? So this is pointed out very clearly, and this is what the seventh mantra is. So there is another way to understand this, which is our traditional 10th man example. In the traditional 10th man example, you know that very well, that this person was sorrowful because he was looking for the 10th person and he couldn't find it. He could only find 9 people, but he could not find the 10th person. So when somebody who understood, who knew, who could see what was going on, asked them, "Why are you so sorrowful? What's happening?" So the person says, "We have lost a person in the swift current of the river." So he says, "Really? I'm very sorry to hear that. Tell me more about what happened." He says, "Well, there were 10 of us when we first started, and now I can only see 9. And so I'm very sorry, I don't know who that person is that I got. We can't even remember the name of the person who was lost, but somebody is lost because clearly we have one missing." So this person was just looking around, counting everybody. And he He said, aha, I can see the problem. So he says, wait. I've got the solution. I found the 10th person. And these guys had doubts. How can he just find the 10th person? We cannot find it. How can he find it? So he says, okay, just wait. Do the following. Everybody line up in front of you. All 9 of them. And they were sort of saying, why do we have to do this? All right, okay. So he lines everybody up. Then he starts counting. This. 1, 2, 3. So this counting by pointing fingers is a very important thing. Is a prelude to understanding the 10th person. Because this is what is called Drishya Anuvidya Samadhi. Yeah, Samadhi here is just you're not contemplating, but you are focusing on it. And so this is like Antah Pragyam, Bahish Pragyam, Ubhata Pragyam, Pragyam, Na Pragyam, Apragyam, all of them. And say did you see, you are not this. No, he didn't say you are not this, but he says this is the way, this is something you see, don't you? Yes. This is something that you see. Yes, this is something that you see. Then how is he going to see himself? There the question, it's an example, it's not perfect. Because in that case he does have a body. So somebody can poke a finger on his body and say, you are the 10th body. But this has to be pointed out by words. So there, the pointing out of a sthula sharira with the word is acceptable because no example is, that's why it is an example. It is not exemplified. But in our case, in the case of a human being who is beset with problems, beset with problems. Beset with problems means we have some moments of joy, but it's a struggle. Life is a struggle. Most of the time you've got problems. You may not have real sorrow, but you have dukkha. So in Sanskritam there is a difference between dukkha and shoka. So the shoka is sorrow. Dukkha is problems. So most of the time we have problems. I've got a headache, I have a headache of not having enough money, stock market, children, all those kinds of dukkha. And occasionally we have shoka, which you'll say, what is happening in my life? Where am I going? What is my future? And every time you attend a funeral, my gosh, at this stage, I tell you, I don't know if I can, I think during the last 1 year, we had 6 of our friends passed away. 6! 5 or 6 or 7, something like I can't even remember. And so we have to go through their funerals. Tomorrow these days now there are 2 parts to it. This is the modern thinking. Again, these things are all new. In the old days when a person dies, you go to their funeral and you cry and you cremate the body, and then some friends come over to your house, and you ruminate about the loss of the body, and you talk about it with your own immediate family members, or friends come in, and so on. And nowadays, it's just exactly like in the old days when I was young. We never had any birthday celebrations. At the very most, your family will say, "Oh, you were born today. Did you know that? Now today you are 5 years old." That was it. They might give you a cookie or something like this. Now you have birthdays that are being celebrated with, oh my gosh, can't. So going back to the funerals, now the modern part of the funerals is that you have a puja, and you have a, a cremation. Then you have a celebration of life. So tomorrow we are going to Usha Bilani's celebration of life. And so I'm not putting anyone down, I'm just telling you that these days now, our life is full of going to funerals and celebrations of life. And so this is what life has come about. So now we have dukkha and shoka in our life. Just like the 10th person who says, my life is ruined because my teacher has entrusted me by taking care of the 10 people, and now only one of them has actually has gone away with the swift current, and it's my fault. I don't even feel like I want to commit suicide. So this person says, don't commit suicide. Nothing is lost. You are the whole. You are the 10th person. And how that is said is by words. So there is a body and there is a sthula sharira. In our case, we have a lot of dukkha and an occasional shoka. And we need to be told there is no need for dukkha or shoka. Really? I thought that's part of life. It's not part of life. It is all due to wrong thinking on your part. Wrong thinking on my part. How can there be wrong thinking? I'm thinking the right way. No, you are not. You are not taking into account who you really are. And who you really are is not visible to you like things are visible to you. It is not like antaf pragyam, bahish pragyam, ubhaitav pragyam, pragyam, na pragyam. It is not like the experiences of Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha. This is how we experience our life. It is not the thoughts and things that you see. It is not. But if you want to see who you are, even with the things that you see, connect yourself with it. What do you mean by connect myself with it? This is what is called drishya anuviddha samadhi. What does that mean? That means the following. Anytime I see something Anytime I experience something, I see that I am there as an experiencer. Nothing can be without me. But I can move around without the experience. I can go ahead. I can discard it. But whatever experiences I have to depend on me. See this fact. In the beginning, it doesn't seem very obvious. This is exactly what we need to do, is to say, you as an awareful being is necessary for your thoughts, for your experiences. All experiences are through thoughts alone. And see that you are always the same person in and through all the various thoughts. So don't look upon experiences exclusively like looking at a movie. This is something like that, where supposing you see a scene which is troublesome, and you're disturbed by the troublesome scene in a movie. If you want to really grow out of that troublesome experience, the reason you have to do is to say, I am just seeing a movie. The movie is something that I am seeing. I am different from the movie. So that's the Drishya Anuvidya Samadhi. But here, there is a difference. There is a difference. Because you can leave the movie, you can close your eyes or leave the movie, and you can clearly disassociate yourself from the experiences of a movie. But in my life, I seem to be stuck with them. This is my own life's movie, and I don't seem to how I can disassociate myself. That disassociation of things that appear to be stuck to you is what is done by the Shabda Anuvidya Samadhi. That is what is being talked about in the Adrishtam Avyavaharyam, etc. That pointing out that you are really not stuck with it as the experiences appear to you. You're not stuck with it. I am not. I'm affected by it. This is what needs to be seen. So therefore, yes, Drishya Anuvidya Samadhi, meaning you're beginning to understand that I am not stuck with my particular experiences, which we do, right? We say that, listen, this too will pass. This is a very common advice given by somebody. Somebody says, oh my gosh, I'm so unhappy, this happened, so and so. Say, you know what? I know. Time will tell. It will be okay. I think I gave you the example. We can all relate to it in some way. Swami Akhandananda gives this example that there was this one guy who came to him once who was a big follower of him and said, Swamiji, my life is ruined. My wife died yesterday and we cremated her and my life is gone. My wife is gone and therefore she was my life and I cannot live without her and I don't know what to do. I want to commit suicide. So Swamiji said, listen, okay, I'm very understanding and it's okay, but you know what? Just you have children, you have to take care of them, you have a business, you have so on and so forth. So it'll be okay after a while. I know that you are grieving now and you deserve to grieve. Take your time. Swamiji says just about 3 or 4 months later, it is a fact, he's recounting that. I was going in a car and I saw this person on the street laughing away with some friends, eating golgappas and chaat from a street vendor. He was just taking it on and just enjoying himself. Swamiji said, I felt so happy. I wanted to stop the car. He says, I went on. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to stop and say, see, what did I tell you? Even a severe thing like the loss of a spouse, you are a sangha. Because if the sorrow of losing someone was so strong, you would never be able to get rid of it. But you do. So even in the drishya anuvidya samadhi, that's my point I'm saying. So please stick with my logic. Even in the case of your experiences, be aware of the fact that things come and go. Illnesses come and go. Sorrows come and go. Dukkha comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Friendships turn into enmities. Enmities turn into friendships. All kinds of funny things happen. Your children are loving to you one and they are disturbing to you another matter. A child that used to be not really caring for you becomes all of a sudden caring. It is anirvachaniya. There's no way to have any kind of a fixed relationship. It just happens all the time. And we cannot say enjoy it, but by just being aware of that, you disassociate yourself to a little extent, not to a large extent, and even to a significant extent. This is drishyanuvidya samadhi. So the first one, which is na antapragyam na bahishpragyam, which is a enumeration of anything that you experience. That's what it does. Because anything that you experience is all done in 24 hours. Jagrat avastha, swapna avastha, sushupti avastha. All three of them. And then there is just a variation. Everything is slightly different, but it's basically the same. So you can have some partial asangata, disassociation, by simply observing that things come and go and you remain the same. You can do that. But you still have memories. They stay with you. This is what happens. You, you have some experience, and then you go to sleep. You turn the lights out, put the covers on, and now you go to sleep. But you know what? Sometimes the memory of your experiences is still there in your mind. And it's very good that eventually you do go to sleep. But until you do, and sometimes it disturbs the sleep, your memories are still there. So the fact remains that the disassociation with what you see as experiences is not total. Not total, it is relative. But it's useful. You should certainly do that. Be happy. A storm is passing by, it will go. But you still have doubt. Am I really separate from this? Because it seems to be stuck to me. There, the teaching of the Shabda Anuvitta Samadhi and that just means, what it means is this: you need an exploration of the Sakshi. Because if you don't, what happens is that you feel, yes, I'm the Sakshi, I'm the witness of all this, but the witness is troubled. I'm a troubled witness. This is the problem. You feel that I'm a witness. Okay, I agree with that. But I'm a troubled witness. Memories trouble me. Fears trouble me. What is going to happen? What kind of a witness is that? I'm very much affected by my experiences of life. How can you say that I'm asanga? There it is said, you have not really understood who you are. You have just taken it as, I'm just an awareful being, and that's it. And then you accept it, I'm a troubled experience, awareful being. I'm a fearful, awareful being. You're not thinking correctly. You have to explore it. So this is where the Shabda Anuviddha Samadhi comes into being. And here, the Shabda means words, words of wisdom are important. What words are used? Because, why words are important? Because you cannot observe yourself. You're not a thing that you can see. Because you are the seer. So, for example, words like adrishtam. So this is adrishtam, abhyavaharyam, etc., which we will spend more time on. But if you look at Drikdrishya Viveka, it uses slightly different words, but they're all saying the same thing. What is it saying? asangaha, satchidanandaha, swaprabha, dvaitavarjitaha, asmiti shabda viddoyam samadhi savikalpaka. So it gives a few examples, but very important examples. So similarly here we have adrishtam, a list of other words, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyayasaram, etc. So these have to be understood. No, not a question of acceptance, they have to be understood. So let us take one of them, which is adrishtam. And these have to be revealed by the Shastra. And they have to be explained and unfolded by someone that understands the vision of the Shastra. These are not just simple words. Why aren't they just simple words? Let's take an example of that. Adrishtam. What is that adrishtam? Adrishtam means unseen. Unseen. This can be one of the, let us see what Swami Paramarthananda he says beyond perception. Yeah, correct. But anyway, these are just translations. But adrishtam means, beyond perception means you cannot see it. How does that help me? This is the thing. In fact, it deepens my doubts, my sorrow. I cannot see it. Doesn't it? You cannot see it. You cannot see Parameshwara. There is some God, but you cannot see it. There is some status of yourself as an asanga, but you cannot see it. Then you say, then I've got a bigger problem. At least I had a hope that I can see myself as a complete happy person. But you're telling me that I cannot see it. So this is not Shastra. This is not the understanding of the Shastra. You know what the right understanding of the Shastra, of the word? So we will now do this analysis for each one of them. So let's look at adrishtam. Shastra says the meaning of adrishtam is you don't need to be seen. You don't need to be seen. There is no compulsion to see. You don't need to see yourself. Think about that. There is a difference between drishtam and adrishtam. Drishtam is something that needs to be seen. Adrishtam means it doesn't even need to be seen. Drishtam means it needs a proof. Pramanagamyam. Adrishtam means it doesn't even need a proof. I don't need a proof. I don't need to be seen. How? This is the understanding that we must develop. So he says, look, you look at any of the drishya, any of the things that you see, any of them. Let's take a book. How do you see a book? Well, let's analyze it. I need a book. I need to see a book through eyes. If there's no eyes, I have no idea what you're talking about. You can even say, I need some words called book. Just like you're saying, can you please bring me that book? You don't see it, but to say, can you please bring me that yellow book? So then there is a connection between the word yellow book and this object called the yellow book. So you need your eyes. You need words. In order to see it, you need your mind. Right? You need your mind, because if you're looking at the book, and supposing a phone call comes in, and you're really now, your mind is, oh hi, oh happy you called me, so wonderful, oh yeah, I was thinking of calling you, and so on and so forth. I'm looking at the book, but my mind is someplace else. I'm really not observing, I'm not aware of the book, right? So you need a mind. There's another thing that you need. What is that? You need some light. So if I make this room completely dark, and right now it's 9:42, supposing it is 4 o'clock this morning, no light. Can you see the book? You cannot see the book. So you need, this is what is called, in order to know any drishya, book is just an example. So to look at any drishya, you need three things. You need adi bhautikam. Adi bhautikam. So bhuta means pancha mahabhutas. So it must have, this book has really all the pancha mahabhutas. It has Prithvi, it has some water, it has some air, akasha, everything it has. So this is Pancha Mahabhuta. Then you need Adhyatmikam. This is Adi Bhautikam. Adhyatmikam means you need your eyes. And you need your mind. Adhyatmikam. Then you need the light, which is Adi Daivikam. Adi Daivikam. So you need all three of them. To observe the world, you need three things. Adi Bhautikam, Adhyatmikam, and Adi Daivam, Adaivikam. All three things. For drishtam, for drishtam, drishtam means to be seen. You need three things. For yourself, what do you need? Adrishtam, what do you need? Do you need your eyes to know that you are? You mean a blind person cannot know? No. A blind person may not be able to see what is drishtam, but not adrishtam. You don't need your eyes. Do you need your mind? There's no mind at night time, but you are. This is why you're able to say in the morning, I slept well. Were you aware of the fact that you were? No, I was not aware, but I am. I was happy. So you don't need adhyatmikam. You are not adibhautikam. You're not a thing made out of the Panchamahabhutas. Do you need light to see yourself? You cannot see yourself at night. You cannot know who you are? No, that's not true. I don't need light. So there is a fundamental difference between drishtam and adrishtam. It is not like just saying you cannot see yourself. You don't need to see yourself. You're already complete. The problem is that I feel I am not incomplete. I need to see myself. This is the issue. This is the bhranti. This is the ignorance that we need to correct. But you're already complete. You don't need light. You don't need to be made up of anything. This is who you are. Adrishtam. This is also how the Shabda Anuvidya Samadhi needs to be done. So that needs to be thought about. On the words of the Shastra, on the unfoldment of the teacher. So both ways you can do this. And I would say that the Drishya Anuvidya Samadhi, which means a contemplation of your experiences and how that cannot be without you, is the starting point, but it's not the ending point. You can say this is even a relative truth. It is not just the relative truth, it is the absolute truth, but it is seen from a relative standpoint, sadhana. The main one is Shabda Anuvidya Samadhi, where you begin to see, oh my God, I don't need it. My whole problem is that I'm belittling myself, that I need to see myself. And this is also true of ananda, of joy, as we will see. So that is how the two sides of the seventh mantra is pointed out. This needs to be seen. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Hari Om.